synchronized.
Good afternoon and welcome to a rainy western fringes of the great Limpopo Transfrontier Park. We've got a couple of blacksmith lapwings here. We'll hopefully find you some leopards. This is your very own live safari. So we're looking at some blacksmith lapwings, and the reason we're looking at them is not necessarily because blacksmith lapwings are so utterly astonishing that they need to be looked at for a long time, but they've actually got a nest over there, and the one of them was sitting on the nest when we arrived, and it's in amongst a little pile of dung there. My name is James Henry, on camera today, as was the case yesterday, BK the biceps. There we go. One day we will show you his immense biceps. I hope you're all very well wherever you happen to be. Please do talk to us during the course of the show. You can do that using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Alternatively, if you're a youngster, you can send us an email to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. That's kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Now, before I hand you over to anyone else, I must just tell you that yesterday I told a lie while we were live. Inadvertently, I didn't mean to do that, but I found a beetle which I called a dung beetle, and two colleagues of mine very gently and kindly pointed out that in fact it wasn't a dung beetle. So those of you who have seen it might remember it. It was a large armoured darkling beetle, and I shall make it my mission to find you another one so that I can show you the difference between that and a dung beetle. So, thank you to Taylor McCurdy and James Tyrrell for pointing that out to me. There, we're on the nest, I think. Just look carefully. There could be some eggs there. They'll be almost invisible. We'll see if we can find them.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Masai Mara. We have a lion in the middle of the forest. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. Now, within this forest, there's about 3 lionesses, and then there's one big male that is just waiting for them to come out of the forest. One of the lionesses is walking actually straight towards the lion. That lion's name is Olalache. He was yesterday mating with 2 females, and seems like there's another female that has come into estrus, which is super interesting. Now it will be so interesting to see him mating with 3 lionesses. He is not interested, but that lioness has come into estrus. We have 2 lionesses, one with a collar and one that assisted the one with the collar, and now we are. Sorry, I didn't get that question, please. See, she's still courting him, and she was showing some interest there. Lion's teeth, it's about, I would say, 7 centimeters. Of those cannons from the big lion, about 7 centimeters. Very, very long. See, he's hiding in the bush and walking away from that lioness. I don't know if he is able to mate with about 3 lionesses. This will be super interesting to see. 2 of the lionesses are in the forest, and one of the sisters, these are coming from the Ololo bride, so has come into estrus. It's so interesting that all of them have come into a synchronized estrus season where all of them are mating at the same time. See how she's the one who's following the male? It would be so interesting to see the three of them mating this male here. See how she's walking towards him and then sleep in front of him. I'll just drive closer because we are in a valley and get a good position where we can be able to see if the other lionesses will join him or not. It's so interesting to see if three lionesses will mate at the same time. Yesterday we saw two lionesses mating him, so this will be a real unusual thing. So as we try to position for a good angle, let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
Well, Jumbo, a very good afternoon, and it's another beautiful scene set here by a beautiful herd of elephants. They look so happy. It's a reunion of two herds that have come together, and you can tell there is more coming from the right. One came in from the left, and looks like the younger elephants are really excited to see one another. You can tell that one herd had been wallowing, and the other one is a bit dull. Good afternoon, my name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungei. Welcome to Masai Mara. It's another live safari we have for you, and we're sticking around the marsh, see what we can show you. And to start with is this very beautiful herd of elephant. The herd, you can tell there's a bit of difference in color. There's some darker ones and some very lighter ones. The lighter ones haven't been wallowing. The darker ones have been wallowing. When I say wallow, it means they've been playing in mud to add an extra layer onto their skin. Looks like the younger ones at the back are really excited to see one another. Edna, Jumbo, you want to know what species of elephant we have in the Mara? The one and only African elephant is the only one we have in the Mara, and the most abundant in East Africa, all the way to Southern Africa. We have the African elephant. For some reason, you can tell there is the body language of a few of them is telling them, let's go more to the right. There's a few in the middle that are still excited, with one another. Like I said before, this is two herds. They've come together. They could be related. By that, I mean the oldest females could be from the same mother, and they separated once the herd was too big, and now they found a chance to find each other. Usually the case that brings them to separate is that when there is less abundant food, they split to smaller herds and go different ways. But every couple of months, every couple of years, when conditions are perfect, they will come back together. And this is the case here. It's really an interaction that you should see. Although, they're heading more to the right, but there was a lot of saying hello, how have you been doing, how's everything, and now looks like they have relaxed and it's time to do what they do best, eating grass. Those two are still trying to size up each other, and looks like males, very typical of that. Look at that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome aboard. Look at this gorgeous kudu. He's helping himself to some flowers. there of that combretum. Isn't he lovely? There's quite a large group of kudu here. And many males with horns of different sizes, so it's really nice to see them together. Hopefully they won't run away from us. They've tended to do that the last few days. Hi everyone, it's me, Trishal, and I have Paul on camera with me this wonderful afternoon in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Stands. I'm hoping, apart from a wonderful antelope, that we can see some elephants today. I haven't seen enough elephants. This morning we didn't have any elephants. So I think that would be a good plan, which is why I'm down here at Treehouse Dam. I was hoping that maybe some elephants would be having a drink, but instead we found these wonderful kudu. Those flowers must be very, very tasty. They're the flowers of a russet bush willow. I've seen giraffe having a good go at them. Now the kudu as well. Look at those magnificent horns. Can you imagine carrying that around with you? All day, every day. And these are not even that large. It's only got about 2 turns in it. And they're fully mature, or the horns are as big as they can get, around 6-7 years old. And roughly we say for every turn, it's about 2 years of the animal. So this wonderful kudu is probably about 4 years old or so.
So our lions here are still sleeping, but the lioness is still so much persistent. But the male here is not interested with her. I think also because he's too exhausted. The other 2 lionesses have walked into the bushes there, and we'll be so keen and interested to see if he will mate her. I thought yesterday it was unusual for this time of the year to see this male mating 2 lionesses, but then it would be also super unusual, or rather not one thing that we always see, lions mating 3 lionesses at a go. Seems that so thank you so much for your question. We have about 17 lions in this entire pride, the Lolo Pride, ruled by one male called Olalashe, the one lying there. So this lioness is also unique because she's almost like whitish in color, because we hardly see lionesses this color here in the Mara. A breezy place where the male is actually enjoying the breeze. Is too hot for him. Actually, it's too deep of a valley where the lionesses went to, so he keeps on checking if they're back. See, the lioness is so much persistent, but he's not interested at all. She's checking whether our sisters are around or coming out soon, but seems like they went to rest. Look at how the wind is blowing his mane. A lion can run for about 55 kilometers an hour. Lions are super fast, but that is not for a long distance, but they can run about 55 kilometers an hour. Can you imagine at 55 how fast that can be? Yeah, they can sprint very fast. I think the other lionesses might be coming. That's why she's looking or staring at that direction. Let's wait and see if they will come here, or maybe these 2 will walk up to them. Nice breeze, nice weather. So when they're on a raised platform like that, it's actually an advantage because they have more wind blowing to them, which is making them a little bit cooler. She might not be seeing them, but she has a sense of where they've gone to. So let's wait here and see if the other lionesses will come as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
Now, into the area where we had Tlalamba the leopardess this morning. She wandered down into this rather thickly wooded drainage line or riverbed. And unfortunately, I don't see any sign of her. But what I can hear are some coqui francolins. There we go, calling on cue. And it's always a good idea to stop and listen, especially when you're looking for this leopardess, because she's been calling and calling over the last 2 weeks. Probably because she's an estrus. Kellen, my favorite animal is the wild dog, because I just think they look nice, I enjoy their behavior, they don't lie around doing nothing, and they look after each other, which I think is quite an appealing trait. You can hear a crested barbet in the distance. But thus far, no leopard going. So I think we'll carry on and keep looking.
I wish it was a leopard that I could show you, but I'm fairly happy with our millipede here too. Look at it going about its business. Enjoying the moisture. When it rains like this, it's been raining for a few days now, we can expect all these little creatures to come out, and millipedes are one of the first ones that we will see. I found a pattern that when I see a millipede, I see a leopard tortoise not too far after. So I'm hoping that I keep that pattern and we get to see all the cool things that come out when the rain is coming down. Greg, you'd like to know how many legs does a millipede have? Many, many legs, although not 1,000 legs. It's often called 1,000 legs. I remember my grandfather used to call them 1,000 legs or shongololo. But in fact, the most number of legs that any millipede that is currently alive has or is currently extant, exists, is about 750. So nobody's reaching 1,000 just yet. So for each segment, if you look there, you can see stripes across the body. Each one of those segments have 2 pairs of legs each. So that's 4 legs per segment, excluding the first few segments where there's only 1 pair, or the first segment where there's no legs. But not 1,000. Look at the coordination. I just find it amazing. When I was in university, we used to have millipedes. Really, really interesting creatures. I love to play with them. And I used to love to play with them even when I was very young. But not all of them are completely harmless. The most problems I've ever had with them is that I'd get a bit of a stain on my hands. I was handling a giant African millipede last year sometime, and then my hands got pink, got stained pink. But other than that, I haven't had any adverse reactions. Some people can get burns caused by hydrochloric acid that they sometimes keep as a defense mechanism. They can spray it out or deposit it. Especially if they're particularly distressed, if they feel like they're caught. If you're not handling them correctly, and they feel like they're stuck in a space, they can't get away, then they can use that defense on you, and you can end up with light burns, which is obviously not ideal. This millipede looks like it's about 15 centimeters, I'd say. Good size. The largest ones we'll get you are about 35 centimeters, I'd say, which is massive. It's longer than a ruler if you have one close by. And they're very, very thick as well. Very black. And they tickle as they walk across your fingers or your hands too. Just lovely. We're going to move on and see what else we can find.
From the millipede to our lions here, and still Lush is not ready to mate with her. She has tried all that she can, but he seems not interested. You can see her walking in front of her, rolling over, and actually trying to do a facial rubbing, but he's not interested at all. Seems like she's given up, maybe, or maybe going to find her sisters where they are. Okay, gone to rest there. Well, he's so much interested in looking to see if the other lionesses will come here. So there's a cool breeze here blowing, so at least it's a little bit cooler for them. Enjoying. Actually, if it was not for the wind, they would have been in the forest area where we saw them a little bit earlier. It's gone back to lie on. I think nothing is going on right now, so it will take a little bit of a while before anything happens. So I'll just leave these lands here and carry on to find something else. But still, we'll come back later and see if it's going to be more active, if the other lionesses will join, or it's only be two, and we'll find out what will happen later. See where they'd come from where we saw them yesterday. It's a little bit far off in a valley. Seems like it's going to rain. Seems like it's going to rain. So let's carry on to another area. Yeah?
Hello, hello, and here we are. We have found this lioness here that is on the move. She is from the River Pride. Looks like she's suckling and very, very desperate for a meal. Looks like she hasn't eaten for quite a while, and she's going on the search for a meal. Looks like she's one of the oldest girls, and this is the one with the cubs. I don't know where she has hidden them, but the mission on her mind at the moment is something to eat. You can tell she's very lean and she's ready for a meal. Remember to talk to us, hashtag Wild Earth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. I'm going to continue and follow her, see, where she goes, because this is going to get very, very interesting. And I don't want to miss any moment, when she decides to go hunting. Okay, hold tight, Bugay. All right, here we go. Now it's going to get very interesting. Jessica, Jumbo, you want to know how many lion prides we have in the Mara? In the Mara, totally, it's a lot of prides. But here in the triangle is plus minus 7 prides. Each pride consists of about 7 to 12 members. And so, that's what we have here in the Mara Triangle. Within our area here, there is about 3 prides. We have the Olololo Pride, we have the River Pride, and the what we call the Owinos. Those are the closest one to us. And at the moment, looks like every pride has got some little ones, and they will be unveiling them for us in the next coming weeks. I don't want to go very close to her. I want to give her enough distance so that whatever she wants to do, I don't interfere. Sometimes the vehicle attracts the predators and the prey, and so while the prey is looking for the vehicle, at the vehicle, it sees the lion, and so I don't want to get too close. She is on a hunt. The mission in her mind is a meal. This is a true predator, a super predator, an animal built for the kill. Gemma Jumbo, thank you for your beautiful question. You want to know how long lions live for? In the wild, approximately 12 to 15 years. And because conditions are very tough. In captivity, about 20. And you can say why? It's because, they get fed. That's your answer. Well, she's going back towards the water. I don't know what she has decided. If she had gone further up, I had seen some zebra that way, and I was hoping she was going to go that way. But who am I to say anything? She can go anywhere she wants. So that's the beautiful scene that I have here. And this is a very old lioness. When I say that, I would say maybe she's about almost 9 years. She's quite big. I'm going to try and get closer, and while I do that, we have other live locations that we'd like to share with you.
Good afternoon to everybody. A very warm welcome to Tswalu Kalahari, and a very dramatic day we have here. My name is Kyle, and behind camera is Glenn. Very warm welcome. How's it, Glenn? Just to touch base on this morning, our POA for this afternoon would be from here we're going to start searching for other animals just a bit further south. But one thing I just want to relay quickly is this amazing item here in my hand. Is that okay there, Glenn? Let's see if we can get a look at it. This was a question asked this morning. How large is a cobra's fang? And that is a cobra's fang. Quite an amazing structure. It's like a hypodermic needle. It's like a needle where this animal can use its available tools to capture food. But that is the tooth of a cobra, which sits on the sides. They have 2 of these sharp teeth on either end of the top jaw that are used to capture prey. So hopefully that gives everybody a better understanding on this amazing, amazing structure. And if everybody can see it there, yes, everybody can see it there. So you can see in relation to my fingernail how small and how tiny this little tooth is. But what it does is not the size, it's what's going through the tooth, which would be that venom, which is very, very dangerous. Amazing. So that is incredible. We'll take a look at it a bit later and we'll obviously shoot some more questions. But for this afternoon, we are going to be heading into all of that. We've got quite a lot of stuff blowing up from the south, and hopefully we have those early rains that I spoke of from this morning. Please, for all the young rangers out there, all the young wild warriors out there, please, kidquestions@wildearth.tv, ask us anything you want. The more questions you ask, the better we all understand this amazing ecosystem together. But hopefully we can find some other beautiful creatures this afternoon, but we will be sure to hold on and see what we can find.
Here we have got some hippopotamus, and we are sitting very peacefully at this waterhole. We've obviously been here many times before, and these hippopotamus are not always resident, but I'm tempted to sit here for 10 minutes or so and just make sure that that leopardess we've been looking for doesn't call. Because she's been calling around here, and it would be great if we could find her again. That is Tlalamba, the leopard. Then we've also got a grey heron sitting on a tree, and I'll tell you, this morning, this grey heron was very, very unpleasant to another grey heron. I think it was this one. There's a juvenile grey heron that's been minding its own business, living here, and this chap came flying in from nowhere, chased him out, beat him up, and sent him skedaddling somewhere else, and I'm not sure exactly where he went, but maybe he's lurking on the shore somewhere here, but I can't see him. So this rather nasty fellow put him to flight. And they're territorial birds for the most part, and so if they feel like another bird is muscling in on a food source that they might take, well, then they're going to chase them off. And that, unfortunately, is the price you pay for being young in the world of the grey heron. Key lime, I will tell you exactly how big that heron is. Let me just look it up quickly. I'm going to say roughly a meter, but I'll just check it for sure to make sure that I'm not telling you a foul and contemptible untruth. Grey heron, height 94 centimeters, so it's just shy of a meter, just shy 6 centimeters of a meter. And if you're wondering what that is in imperial, it's just about 3 feet. And they only weigh 1.5 kilograms or 1.4 kilograms, which is about, well, what's that, about 1.8 pounds. So really quite light. I'm talking absolute nonsense, 2.8 pounds, sorry. It's about 2.5 pounds. When you think about it, that really is very light for an animal that size. So as I said, we're going to sit here and wait and see if that leopardess calls again.
Well, my lioness hasn't pinpointed anything yet, and it's still searching. You can tell that the teats are a little bit very exposed and also swollen, proof and evidence that she's got some young ones hidden back there. She looks very, very glowy, beautiful. Look at her. Her skin, its texture is very healthy. It's only that she hasn't had a meal. When suckling, sometimes they'll stay with their little one for as long as possible sometimes even 3 days. And that's why when they have something to eat, they'll eat as much as possible. And so in times like this, she can be able to provide milk for the little ones without leaving, and so in that way they can get a really good imprint of the mother's smell, and also she can get to take care of them and feed them enough. And after that, she really needs a meal, and I think this is what she's doing. I don't know if she's got very new ones or she's the one with the 4 young ones. I will still have to find out about that, but evidence is she's got some very young ones. She has this.
So we're still here with our hippos, still no sound or of calling from the leopardess. Alas. But it's such a peaceful, pleasant afternoon here. No breeze to speak of, just the odd bit of spitting rain. And lovely bird song. Red-billed buffalo weavers, franklins. You might even be able to hear the swizzling call of the white-bellied sunbird. And baby franklins I can hear going, making little contact calls as they walk through the grass with their parents. Here we go. The heron has gone down, BK, landed on the other side there, perhaps got something in mind to eat. Is the pole in the way? Just landed the other side there. The pole's in the way. Nicole, hippos give birth mainly in the water, although in the shallows. Oh, there we go, hang on. There's a bit of a display going on with the hippo. So they'll give birth in water, but not in very deep water, normally in the shallows, where it's pretty shallow, obviously, it's called the shallows, where it's easy for them to stand, and in fact they'd probably lie down with less than half of their bodies covered. They're all coming closer to us, it's quite fun. I wonder why. We might be in for quite a nice display. Maybe the little one said, let's go and have a look over there at those little people things. Nelson, the hippo population in Djuma is variable. It's currently at around about 8, I would say. 6 here, and 2 in the other dam in front of the camp. But it's very variable. Sometimes there are none, and sometimes you might find as many as 15 or so. They move between here and the other big water holes around, especially the Chitwa Dam, which is a massive water hole about 3 kilometers south of where we're sitting now. And then they'll go from there all the way down to the Sand River, which is about 7 kilometers south of where we are now. So sometimes you come here, and in fact for weeks on end, you can come here and not find any hippo at all. Very sleepy. See how he's dozing there in the water. It's quite nice also, you can see those black hairs on the front of his nose. They probably do play a role in helping him to discern whether or not what he's going to eat is toxic.
Good afternoon. Is this Wild Earth? Hi, Wild Earth. This is Tswalu. Tswalu speaking here. How's it going? Wow, okay, thanks a lot. Wow, look at that. Alrighty, look at this amazing little item that we have found on the ground. Really remarkable structure. Anybody want to guess who this is from? Very, very hardy. Can really inflict a little bit of damage, and it's super strong. I'm strong, but not that strong. But a really remarkable structure. You'd find typically 4 on the animal's face. Well, yes, on the animal's face. So any ideas who this could be from? It could be a big claw. It's not the right shape, not strong enough, but really nice item to see in the bush. Just like our horns that we've been looking at, this will also dislodge from the animal's mouth once the animal has passed away. And you can see how long it's been in the sun. It's got this very, very beautiful whitewashed appearance. Very nice. So this would be from somebody. Megan, warthog tusk, well done. Yes, a warthog tusk. These are just overgrown in sizes. So just the bottom parts of the jaw and then the top parts, your canines. And they actually got 2 sets on either end of the mouth. And these sets actually work against each other. You can see if I just turn this, look how flat this section is over here. So this item being so hard, you can see that this would have only been created from something rubbing against it, which would be the other tusk. And these are remarkable tools for a warthog to use. Not only for defense, very efficient form of defense. This would inflict quite a lot of damage along with the warthog's power. Warthog is super, super tough, and it is very, very, very strong. And this would inflict damage on things like lions and cheetah. I've seen two cheetah be pushed off by 1 female sow. Sow is what we call a female warthog, and a boar is what we call a male. This size, more than likely, I would have said this is actually a boar, an oldish boar, but then the other tooth would have been working against her, making it extremely sharp. I've held warthog tusks, and I've pulled them out my hand, and that has been so sharp that it's actually cut my hand. But a remarkable structure, and it's only a tooth. Same as elephant's tusk, it's only a tooth. It's just an overgrown tooth. And they also use it for defense. They use it for uprooting bulbs and roots. They mainly feed on grass. So what they would do is basically take it within the grass and basically hook it and uproot the grass with this tusk. But a really remarkable structure. Well done, Megan. Yes, warthog tusk is right. Fantastic. We've got people in South Africa that like to make walking sticks out of this. So they would put that on top of the stick, and that would become part of the handle. But incredible.
So we've come across an elephant family that is very much agitated. The matriarch here is not happy with our presence. Look at how they're protecting the calves in the middle, in the center there. The second one to the left is a matriarch, and look at how this is what tells you that when an elephant is agitated. Ears flapping, see they raise their head and they hunch back their trunks. That shows they're not super happy. Look at the man there, but we've already given them an escape route, so they're really, it's up to them to walk into the forest area. So we've not pushed our limit. So we actually at a good place where these elephants are much relaxed. See, the reason why she is agitated, most of the times we find that when matriarchs, the leaders of these herds, have calves, teeny tiny young ones, they normally get aggressive, so they'll not keep or tolerate any intruder who walks in across or near them. This is so interesting to see. Look at how they are. Look at the posture. Look at how they're looking at us. Look at how the other ones are just facing the other direction. Well, every member of this family is protecting the young ones. Now they've come to investigate us. Nice. This is so interesting to see. We don't always see this kind of behavior, but so long as we've kept our distance and we've not interfered with them, it's really interesting to see. Now they've seen that we are calm, we are relaxed, we are not bothering them. They step a little back, but then sometimes they walk to see if we might back off or maybe if it's going to be a challenge. They actually can't see us in the vehicle, they can't see the occupant, but they see this structure. So this structure might sometimes bother them. See, this one at the front is not really happy. But as soon as everything calms down and they are sure that we are not a bother to them, we are not a harm to them, they will slowly walk back. See, they're already picking grass. Some of them are grazing. So this has come now to investigate. She's certain that, okay, you guys need to walk away from us. What are you guys doing? Need to keep your distance away from us. Hold on your distance.
Well, I've been following this female for quite a while now, as you know, and she's at the edge of that bank there. Bungay is gonna do his magic and we're gonna share the site that we have. She's been calling. It's like she's in a combination of locating her sister or her sisters at the same time hunting. Maybe she wants backup because she doesn't know what she's going to encounter, and it might need more females to bring down, and so she's preparing herself. By herself, she's capable of bringing down a fully grown zebra, but it is a lot of effort. If there are two, it's much easier, and I think that's why she was calling. Remember, she is from the River Pride, and they have a good number of young ones. I don't know if this female has got fresh ones, because she looks like she hasn't left where she's been staying for quite a while. And when I say that, okay, time for a break. It is typical for lions or lionesses to take a break after investigating within the area they're in and there is nothing. They usually just rest to regain some much needed energy, and at the same time to hope that something is going to come by within few minutes. Sometimes it's a very hard decision to make for them, because when there is nothing in sight, it is very difficult to think which direction they are going to take, because they don't know where it's the nearest next meal. And so sometimes just sitting down and resting helps, because this is nature, and we're in the wild. Something might come walking down and it makes their job very, very easy. Here in the Mara, we have very small territories compared to other places, and within the River Pride territory there is plenty to eat, from buffalo, giraffe, buffalo, zebra, warthogs, waterbucks. So we have a lot of things for them, to feed on. It doesn't mean that,
Our elephants are now relaxed and they've decided to walk away. The matriarch has assured them that their safety. She was holding off the ground, making sure that we will not bother the calves, and that is usual for any mother who has a young one. So most animals will be protective of their young ones. So look at how big this elephant is, and in comparison to us, they have to also make sure that no one gets near the calves. So as soon as she calmed down, the rest of the family calmed down, and they've decided now to walk into the woodlands. Look at the cattle egrets following. So cute. Those teeny tiny ones are really, really cute looking. Now this matriarch seems like she might at one point been disturbed by a presence of a vehicle. That is why she gets a little bit agitated and angry when we drive close to this herd. So we have to give animals their comfort zone. They have to have a flight distance where they can at least walk away, so we've not actually blocked any of the calves. So sometimes they'll be aggressive, especially when you cut off the mother and the calf. So they'll always come to charge and to protect. It's the maternal instinct to protect the calves. And you see, elephants are very social animals, very intelligent. See, at the moment when how often do elephant herds travel? It depends with the availability of food. So when there's scarcity of food, elephants will travel a very long distance. So because we have marshes here, we have good supply of food or grazing ground, they don't travel that much. But in times of drought, because look at that matriarch, one time in her life she might have gone through a severe drought, and because of the intelligence from growing up and the experience, she knows where there's good supply of food, and that's where she's keeping her calves around. But they can travel up to about 170 kilometers. There's a research that they put a tracking collar to elephants, and they happen to see them travel that long of a distance. So they don't travel that much, but depending on the weather pattern, that is what limits and what makes them travel. So the communication that went in there was defend our young ones, and everyone circled and kept the calves in the middle. Super intelligent way of protecting their calves. So the success of this family depends on that matriarch. And as you watch this elephant grazing softly, walking into the woodlands, let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
Look at this. It looks like one of the sheet web spiders. You can see that the web is spread across the ground with a little hole for it, and all the water is collected on it. It's been very good to come out for us. Oh, back in it goes. Standing guard on the outside. Spiders are just fascinating. You can actually make out two eyes, or two of the eyes. Two black little spots staring at us. It's a crested francolin just shouting at us there. It was very loud. Actually, I think having a better look at the spider, it might actually be one of the funnel webs. Probably a grass funnel web spider. These ones make a retreat like that. Marta, you say it's really interesting with the water all around it. Well, it really helps having a water collection system, essentially. The only difficulty is that when it rains, everything can spot your web because it collects the water so nicely. So what they'll do is wait out there for possible prey, which can sometimes be even larger than they are, and then they drag it into the retreat, the little burrow there. Looks like it's eating some of its web. Lots of spiders do that. In fact, most spiders do that. And that's because producing spider silk is such an expensive substance. It's a very, very, very expensive and unique material. It takes a lot of effort to produce and a lot of resources. So they'll almost recycle it by eating it. And those specific proteins that are in that spider's web can be reused to create more silk. Apart from that, any little bits of its prey would be in the web, so they eat it all up so they can be most efficient. Really nice. I'm so glad that this funnel web spider has come out to see us. It could have just been hiding, but it decided to say hi to you all.
Well, this female looks like she's taking her time. Something interesting about her is her right ear is slightly lower than the left ear, or than the right ear. You will notice that when she turns around and looks at us. Here where she is, I think she's taking her time. Hopefully her sister will turn up and they will go on a hunt. She's too big. If they find something too big, she'll need lots and lots of effort. Remember that she's on a hunt, and if she comes across something, it's going to be very difficult. So, she needs, her sister, and I'm hoping she's gonna come by. At the moment, apart from buffalo, there is nothing else around here. Elephant, but behind me and a long way, there is a good number of zebra. If she crosses towards my side, she might be able to come and get one. Well, I love, how she's staying here. Hopefully her sister will come by.
Still out here with this lovely spider. It's just nice to see it, so I thought I'd stick around for a little bit. Watch it, maybe some unsuspecting critter comes along and we get to see a live kill. Wouldn't that be interesting? So obviously you can see the 8 legs, characteristically arachnid. Those 2 front-facing eyes. Now, unlike insects, spiders don't have compound eyes. They have simple eyes, eyes like ours. Compound eyes are what you'd see with a fly or a butterfly. They look like small little dots all together, like little windows. And each one has a tiny little lens. It's almost like little individual eyes that are all put together, hence the word compound. Simple eyes, just one big version of that, like we do. Spiders usually have 8 of those, although they can have 6. And by far, jumping spiders have the most beautiful eyes. Not that yours are not beautiful, funnel web spider. Yours are also stunning. Neva, you'd like to know what my favorite fact about spiders is? Oh, so hard to choose. The fact that they're beautiful? I think that's a great fact. And they are beautiful. I love them very, very much. I think one of the things that I really admire about spiders, which is a fact as well, is that they've existed for a long, long time. They've existed for longer than insects have. The first possible ancestor of the spider existed about 400 million years ago. It was called a Trigonotarbida. And it was a fossil spider-like ancestor. It wasn't exactly the spider we know right now, but it was its ancestor. And that is a long, long time ago. If you're thinking about insects, you're looking at about 250 million years ago to about 300 million years ago. And that's when webs first started to develop. So spiders would usually be on the ground at that time, much like this one. And they'd leave a silk trail as they moved about, more for communication. And then once flying insects developed and prey was now flying, obviously, they needed to adjust their strategy, and that's when spiders started building webs that could catch this prey. It's always awesome to see how nature moves together. Something develops this, the other thing develops that. And for spiders to have been appearing in the fossil records so long ago, I think is really telling to just how successful they are. And they also have amazing abilities, apart from the fact that they can produce silk like no other creature on this planet. Yes, silkworms can produce silk, but they can't produce this kind of silk, not with this strength. And they also produce venom. Two very, very expensive materials that their little bodies produce. Oh, we have some sun coming out. That's nice. I feel like I haven't seen the sun for a while. And now our web looks very bright in the sunlight. All right, well, we're going to move on. It was wonderful to spend this time with you and our funnel web spider.
That is great to hear that the sun is starting to come out that side. We are hoping and praying for a bit of rain this side. So everybody wants something different, but it's for the better of the good. Welcome back. We're busy meandering along here and we stumbled across this amazing little item. So looking at this, it's fairly hard. It's not extremely hard, but it's hard enough to resist and deter other animals. And then you see over here there's multiple entrance or exit holes dotted throughout this muddy structure. These little chambers would have been created at different points or different intervals, and these chambers would have been hosting a little caterpillar, and on the caterpillar there would be a tiny little larva, and this structure would have been built by the mother, and this is all in the hopes of that she's giving her offspring the best possible chance to survive. This structure is made, you can find them on trees, you can find them in your house, but this structure is made solely out of mud. There's also a little bit of quartz in between, so as you can see the animal's been getting this sediment here. So this would have been collected from a watering hole. A remarkable structure, and this is made from a wasp. And she made this large structure in order to give her offspring a good chance. It's a safe haven, but then within this little chamber, she would have provisioned food for her little young. So when her young hatches, they will then start to eat through the caterpillar. They have enough resources, enough good stuff to finally pupate in a couple of days or maybe a month or so. Obviously, depending on species, that would vary, but then actually hatch as an adult. These wasps are very aggressive. Some of them hunt spiders, some of them hunt caterpillars, but a remarkable structure to house one's offspring. And just what we're looking at is, just so that you guys have an understanding, this is what we're looking at. A wasp has a very distinctive body structure. Look at this one over here. It's actually got a spider. That is a spider there. It's almost double or triple her own weight. I mean, she is long, thin, agile, set of wings, very, very strong. I've seen them carry spiders twice as big as them up vertical walls. They are extremely strong animals, and they hunt for food, and then they provision that food for the young, which would have been housed in this muddy structure. What a remarkable thing to see. And how they would have captured it, they actually actively hunt them. So they would be on the ground, they locate a prey item, and then they basically rush up, grab it and sting it, and that paralyzes the prey item, and the prey item would be then stuck in here. But what an incredible structure to see out here. Some species make single nests, some species like this over here make multiple chambers within this one structure, but all in the hopes to give her offspring the best possible chance. And when it comes to wasps, they are fairly orientated around parental care. They are really good mothers. We took a look at those paper wasps a couple of weeks ago, underneath a sociable weaver nest where those females had made that beautiful, structure where they had multiple little cells in, and in those cells they would have housed those little ones. But a really incredible creature, really incredible structure to see, and something that is fairly prominent out here. Incredible. We are still continuing down south into the stormy weather. Take a look at the clouds. Look how beautiful that is. Nice one, Glenn. And we're looking for anything small that might be moving around under the cover of this cloud that we have now. Bat-eared foxes, or even that little elusive Cape fox.
A storm at Tswalu will be, I imagine, an unbelievably spectacular spectacle to see. There is a giraffe. It is walking beneath what has been a fairly stormy sky all day, but now the sun has come out and is bathing the giraffe in that glorious post-storm hue of honeyed gold. And our experiment is borne out once more. He is a dark giraffe on his own. I don't want to move, I just want to let him walk past this tree. Oh, he's now going to feed behind this tree. I was also rather enjoying the fact that BK was being forced to contort himself into an unnatural shape, trying to film the giraffe. Let me go back a bit, so that he doesn't have to contort himself into quite such an unnatural shape. Don't be afraid, BK. We'll make it, I promise. Even I can handle this driving. Well done, BK. Get him. Quite a remarkable tongue. Do it again. And as I always point out when I see giraffes doing this kind of thing, it's not only the fact that he has such a long tongue that is remarkable, it is also remarkable that his neck is able to bend at that angle, because the joint between the atlas and the axis, which are, I think, C1 and C2, the C1 and C2 vertebra, are able to articulate at 180 degrees, which ours are not. If you articulate your atlas axis joint at 180 degrees, it is highly likely you will need a wooden box to live in after that. Gorgeous. I nearly tried to mix the words glorious and gorgeous together there, and it came out as gorgeous. It's quite a good word, really. Lana, it depends entirely on the animal. Remember, when we referred to animals, that we referred to everything from sponges and corals to blue whales and elephants, and everything in between. So it really does depend on the animal. In this part of the world, mammals tend to be less active indeed during during very hot weather or very cold weather, and more active when the temperature is slightly more pleasant. Because for exactly the same reasons that you would be like that. They need to stay cool when it's very hot, and they need to stay warm when it's very cold. They don't want to use too much energy to cool down. And so a mild temperature is always best. It's why most mammals are crepuscular in their activities. Or many of them are, birds too. But of course, things like stingless bees, mapani bees, they thrive when it's really hot, and they can fly around because they need that heat to fire up their metabolisms. A lot of reptiles are better in extremely hot temperatures, but not all. Braden, the old question of why their tongues are black has brought up a lot of research, and no one's really entirely sure. The thinking at the moment is that they are black because they have to spend so much time outside of the animal's mouth, and therefore that black colouring helps protect them from the sun. I'm not sure that that's true. And remember that there isn't necessarily a reason why there isn't necessarily a good reason why the giraffe's tongue is black. It might just be black. It might just be that it's a continuation of the melanin in the skin, and it's into the tongue as well. There might not be actually a function for it. It's black because it's got melanin in it. Has it got melanin in it because it needs to be protected from the sun? Well, I think that's probably unproven as yet. It's quite difficult to prove something like that, you see, because you'd need to find a whole lot of giraffes that don't have melanin in the tongue, find out if they get burned tongues and if that has an effect on their lives. An impala alarm calling, BK. Other side of this clearing. Let's move. I can hear them calling in that direction over there. I'm going to go around on the road. There's a big storm coming in this side too. I suppose we're kind of prepared for it. Dark Tswalu is so exciting to have a big storm in the desert there. All right, we're going to carry on around here and see if we can find where those impala are alarming. Thank you, Mr. Giraffe. It's been real. Calm down.
So when the impalas are alarming, definitely they've already seen something. And here we have baboons, and sometimes when they bark, we know definitely there might be a cut. So but right now they're quite relaxed. Look at the young ones. I like the way the sun is shining on their frame. There, you can see they're walking down that termite mound. It's time they're heading back to their roost tree. Every day they make long journeys, or maybe sometimes short, depending on the availability of food. They'll forage. They eat from scorpions, vertebrate, and plant matter. Sometimes you see them bullying each other. We have teeny tiny young ones running across the road now. So depending on the alpha family, these baboons will bully the rest of the entire family. So the family from the alpha will bully the subordinate ones. Depends on how small they are. They can also bully the other subordinate family. so interesting when you watch. Look at how they look around when they're walking into the long grass. This is, of course, a behavior they've learned from watching the adults as they walk about foraging and carrying around their daily activity. Oh, high scream there. So some of these troops can consist of more than 20, even 30 group members. They always walk at around 8 or 9:30 a.m., depending on where they've roosted. And then they carry on, go to forage where they eat, find water, and then before it's dark, they'll come back to their roosting trees and settle for the night. Interesting thing, depending on the hierarchy, the alpha family gets to roost up on the very top of the tree, and that is safer from predators. So when they're foraging like this, the alpha or the big male baboons will always be sentinel, watching over for predators. Debbie, thank you for your question. The kind of predators that will attack baboons will be leopards. They fall prey to leopards a lot, especially when they're back at their roosting trees at night. So a leopard will prefer taking them at night. But during the day, they can mob and gang attack the leopard. Sometimes when they're walking on the grass like this, they fall prey to lions. So, but mostly they fall prey to leopards. It's so interesting when you see them walking up and about, the young ones, how they play and bully each other, which is so interesting to see. I see the last one there, of course, is not big enough to be the alpha. The alphas will always be sentinel, maybe on a termite mound or upper tree. But sometimes you find the younger males mimicking the alphas. It seems like there's much of food there to eat. As these baboons walk back to their roosting trees, we'll carry on to find something else. Remember, you're coming to live, #WildEarth. Kids question at wildearth.tv. The YouTube comment section at FC. Let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
Listen to these magpie shrikes. They've been giving us 2 of their calls. The one they're doing now, see you. That tends to be a contact call. And they do hang out in groups, maybe they're calling others. How beautiful. And then you can see that when they group together, sometimes they'll lift their wings up like that. And one will leave, and the others will follow to that tree. At least that's how it goes usually. The one who initiates the move. And it goes, and there it goes, and now they're on the next tree. still see them? To the right. And just behind our pole. Isn't that wonderful? That was so special to watch them and listen to them. You can still hear them, but they're now far away. It's so wonderful to see and hear the bird at the same time. That way it really sticks in your memory. Magpie Shrike, everyone. So nice to share with you.
Well, from the Magpie Shrike back to our lone river-fried lioness. She has been lying down since I last spoke to you, but now she has raised her head up, and I don't know if she's gonna sit up. She is calling at the same time as observing and taking a look around to see if there's anything. You will see what I mentioned earlier about her right ear being lower than the left one. Zong. Okay, looks like the nap wasn't enough, and now she's gone back to a little bit of more much needed rest. It's quite cool. The temperature is quite nice over here, and it's perfect for her to go out hunting. Some zebra have approached on my right hand side, but they're a bit obscured by a little forest that she can see. I'm sure when she gets ready, she will go there and she might get a meal. I don't know when she's gonna get up again, but this is what they do best, you know that. Sleeping. I don't blame them, because when they are ready to go out and get something, they use a lot of energy and power, and so maybe she's resting. She doesn't want to waste. She doesn't want to overheat. She's just gonna wait when that moment is perfect for her to go out and look for dinner. The River Pride consists of about 4 females at the moment, and we haven't seen them together for the last about 1 month. We have seen 2 with cubs. This one, I don't know if it's the same one that David saw about 3 weeks ago. We'll still have to look at the pictures we took to see if she's the same one, but looks like she's a fresh one with fresh cubs. That's what I believe by the looks. The reason is with the other one having 4 cubs and they're only 2 months, she could not be this hungry, and she cannot go this hungry with 4 cubs. So definitely she could be a fresh mother, and I'm hoping that she can reveal her new ones in the next coming days. Because she's staying put, I'm gonna stay here and wait for her to get up while we see what we have in another live location.
Best of luck there for those little cubbies. Beautiful nursery herd of southern oryx. There was one that had an enormous belly. She was very pregnant. She's off to the right hand side at the moment, but there was 5 females and then 3 young individuals above the age of 6 months. Between 4 and 6 months, they've got that beautiful tawny coat which enables them to blend in when mom leaves them behind. And oh, there she is. Look how big that belly is. Wow. So the little calves ran, and that disturbed the mother or the moms in this group, and they remain inactive for about 60% of the day, and that's a way in which how they save energy and save on water. So by remaining inactive, you basically put in the cards in your favor. And then when the cooler parts of the day come about, these animals become mobile. Sure, beautiful, look at that. So it was a big myth a very long time ago. People always thought that oryx were born with horns. And that's basically the only time you see oryx is when they come out of this hiding period, around about 4 or 5 months. And then people used to see these oryx with horns. No antelope is born with horns. Obviously, it would be a little bit of a difficult task for mom if this little one had horns with inside the tummy. But horns, depending on the species of antelope, would only emerge after a couple of weeks, starting from the top of the skull. But those two, they are fairly young. There's another young one. It's 2, 3, 4 months, 3 months, 4 months, that guy there. Nice. Painter girl, I would agree with you. They are magnificent. Also very, very dangerous weapons. And then also tools, like we watched this morning. Some of those oryx were using their horns to chase away the flies from the back of them, or on their back. So if you've got an itchy spot that you can't reach to, they'll actually use their horns as well. So not only uses dangerous weapons, but tools for various reasons. Yo, what a beautiful sight. So they'll start now moving off, doing a little bit of grazing before nightfall. Really remarkable adaptation of how animals adjust to fit into their in the environment. Lena, how much does an oryx bull weigh? An oryx bull could weigh an exceptionally up to about 200, 260 kilograms. Females are a bit lighter. Obviously, males have a lot more muscle because they fight so much. So they're a little bit more robustly built. So around about 200, 240, let's say, that give or take, they can weigh. And that weight, and if you look at the height of an oryx, it doesn't look very strong, but they are super powerful. I've been lucky enough to do a lot of game capture in my career, and power to weight ratio, even a springbok, you think, oh, it's so tiny, it will be fine. I've held springbok, and when the animal finally puts power down with a little bit of weight that a springbok does have, when it starts pushing you around, you really understand how strong these animals really are. And you need to be strong to be out here. You need to be fit. You need to be resilient to be able to survive these harsh environments. Not just here. Think about being in the desert. Think about being in the Sahara. Think about being on the west coast, on the skeleton coast. Remarkable adaptations. But those animals are truly, truly incredible creatures. Okay, they're gone. We're going to move on a little bit further south, see what we can pick up. Bokmakiri.
Well, my lioness is still in the same position. Every now and then she raises her head. I don't know if she's looking forward for her sister to appear or what, but before she went on stalking mode, she did call, which is a very low roar, goes like and usually it might sound like it's not productive, but it does travel, and because lions have got very good sense of hearing, they will hear which direction it's coming from, and sometimes a lion or a lioness will just appear out of nowhere. But of course nobody has appeared. I don't know if it's because the wind wasn't perfect and so they didn't hear it, but I'm hoping that something will happen quite soon. She's been resting quite a lot, and I'm hoping that she's gonna wake up and maybe go look out for dinner. She looks hungry, though they can go for up to 10 days without eating, 7 to 10 days without eating. Caitlin Jumbo, you want to know, how long, lions sleep for. They sleep for about 15 to 20 hours of a day. Of course, that's when they're really well fed and they've had a very good meal. They'll spend that time 15 to 20 hours of a day. It might sound like it's a lot, but when they work, lions work really, really hard, and also they use a lot of power and energy. So to regain it, they need to rest that much. Back to her, she's still in the same position, and actually when they sleep properly. That's how I would phrase it. They don't have a care in the world because they are top of the predators list. Nobody can bother them, and so they sleep flat out. The only animal that can disturb them would be a rhino, a buffalo, an elephant, or maybe a hippo. Those are the only few. Most of them will avoid them, and so they sleep really, really well. And looks like she's doing that over here. And though they are fast asleep, their ears are still very active. They are listening for the slightest movement or change of sound within their area. And while sleeping like this, it doesn't mean that she will pass something coming or passing by. If she wakes up and finds something, she can go into action within a very short time. So it's an animal to reckon, and they have power to reckon. They're built for the kill. And so while sleeping like this, you still have to be very careful. One reason why we never see very, very many, it's that when they're lying down like this, you can easily drive past them, because if you're not attuned to the kind of color, terrain, or where to look, you can drive past them very, very easily. It is beautiful here in the Masai Mara.
Please come in.
You can easily drive past this guy too. It is Fernando, our chameleon. Hello, Fernando. That's so wonderful to see you. I'm sure you're very happy that it is a bit drier and the sun is shining. Hang on. Standing by, Aubrey.
What is your position?
I'm on Twin Dams by the Big Leadwood. They found Tlalamba on Nyala Road South.
Try to make his way in. Gonna make his space.
Copy, thank you. Yeah, she was found about 5 minutes ago, Tlalamba. But we didn't have a space just yet, so we took a standby. And then we thought we'd visit Fernando in the meantime, which we have, and now we can make our way to Tlalamba, so that's just awesome. It'll still take a little while though, so that everybody else can get a good look too. What about you, Fernando? Where are you looking? Towards Tlalamba? No. Isn't it just awesome? The skin, it's just amazing. Daniel, you'd like to know what causes chameleons to change color? Well, the reason that they change color is for communication between species, or between members of the same species, or even between other species that it sees. It's a hormonal response. So that's the reason that it looked like it just pulled its eye in there. Whoa. I've never seen him do that before. I wonder if there was a way to kind of cure an itch of some sort. Well, that was interesting. Anyway, so it's a hormonal response. So they don't change color in order to camouflage. However, they may feel more comfortable if they're in an area where they are less seen or more camouflaged, and that feeling comfortable or feeling uncomfortable would elicit a hormonal response. So sometimes there's a bit of the overlap, but the reason that they change color does not have to do with them wanting to camouflage. Now, how they change color has to do with the different layers of skin that they have. Multiple layers, some with pigment like xanthophores, hold yellow pigment, or carotenoids, melanin, different layers with different pigment, and especially an iridescent layer that's filled with what we call iridophores. So at rest, a chameleon is green like this, and that's a result of the iridophores being close together. So they're kind of, imagine a balloon. So when it's relaxed, all the parts of the balloon, the plastic bits, the color in the balloon is close together. Right. Now when you blow the balloon up, and when Fernando expands the cells in his skin, those iridophores, then the color, the way that the light interacts with those iridophores changes. Now they're filled with little nanocrystals that reflect light in different ways. So when he's stressed, as in not relaxed, he's in an excited state, then he can increase the distance between those iridophores and then change the color depending on how much he increases the distance and how those interact with the different layers of pigment to create different colors. That's why when we see the green chameleon, it is actually a result of the iridophores relaxed and reflecting blue, and a xanthophore layer underneath is reflecting yellow, producing the green that we see. It's really interesting and really intricate, and there's still a lot of research that's going into exactly how they change color and why. It's one of the reasons I find them so interesting. We were talking about spiders earlier when we had the funnel web spider. Produces silk, produces venom. Expensive traits. Here, this guy has independently moving eyes, very unique trait. A telescopic tongue that produces like 40 Gs of force as he pushes it out. And then the skin with layers of chromatophores and iridophores that just allow him to change color the way he does. An amazing creature, in my opinion. Anyway, guys, I'm going to have to leave him now and head off towards Tlalamba. What a shame. Oh, what a schlep. I'm sure you're excited. All right, let's go. Hopefully our space will be available.
We have come across the plain zebra. Look at their stripes there. Very good looking stripes, they're black and white. Now the stripes make them among the most recognizable mammals that we have. Because if you happen to be driving or maybe walking and you come across zebra, those stripes make them recognizable. So they fit these zebras, the paintings and the prints are featured so much in the entire Africa. And most of the people like paintings of zebra. And I like the way they paint up this savanna as they're walking across, coming towards us and going past. Now we have a different species of zebra that is not found around here called the gravy zebra. Now these zebras here, we call them the plain zebra or the Bachel zebra. They're considered to be near vulnerable. And we have the mountain zebra, which is found farther south of where we are, like Southern Africa region, which is among threatened. And we have the gravy, which is actually endangered. Now, these three species have different behavior. So when you come to these common zebras here, see them walking in very big herds. So one male holds up a few mares as they walk across these savannas. And sometimes you see them fighting over other stallions. So when you come across grave zebra, which are bigger and have narrower stripes, and they have rounded ears, sometimes I call them the Mickey Mouse zebra because they have Mickey Mouse looking like ears. The stallions are territorial. They form a big territory, and then which will attract the mares to come into that territory. So the mountain zebra and the plain zebra are almost closely have the same behavior. But what varies is the shape and size and also the stripes. You can hear one of the stallions calling. So these zebras are also in the family of horses, Equidae. when you talk about migrants, these are some of the migratory species that come alongside with wildebeest, topi, Thompson gazelles, and sometimes eland walking across Serengeti into the Masai Mara. A month from now, or maybe 15 days from now, you find that these plains games will be heading back to Serengeti. Lincoln, thank you so much for your question. Young zebras will recognize their mothers by the color of their stripes or the stripe pattern. And it's known that on the shoulder, or just where the leg meets the shoulder, there's a certain stripe that almost curves into a V shape. And that is one of the recognizable marks that the foals will see and tell them that is their mom. And interesting thing is, the mares within a dazzle, because the collective name is a dazzle or a zir or zebra, they're able to recognize each other. How interesting is that? And of course, they're always controlled by one stallion. So they mix up as they carry on with their grazing and walk towards wherever they're going. They have a very good sight. So sometimes you'll see them stopping to scan around. So not easy for them to fall prey to lions, but lions prefer this kind of species, the zebra, because they go for the larger prey. I think that was the last zebra there. Like the way the sun is shining onto their faces and body. As they walk past, we'll head off, carry on to a different area, see what we'll find as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
Well, we have a vulture. It is not what we went looking for. We found the impala that were alarm calling, and they were looking, and they were excited, and they were alarm calling. And then there were francolins going. And unfortunately, it was north of an area where we cannot go. And so we didn't go in there. Somebody else drove in there and found a male lion. That's the report from when I last saw you. And now we have a vulture sitting in a tree, looking forlorn, morose. A bit like I feel right now. There are a few of them around here. So maybe something has met its end in this vicinity, but more likely these vultures just haven't managed to take off today on account of the inclemency of the weather. There's a big, thick black cloud moving in from the south.
Yeah, if you don't mind, if you can stand by there, I'd like to give my space here to come here. Let's go.
Hello, Hammond. We have got 5 vulture species here at Djuma. They are the white-backed vulture, which you're looking at now, the Cape vulture, very rarely, but sometimes they fly in from the Drakensberg, the lappet-faced vulture, the white-headed vulture, and the hooded vulture. Those are the 5 vulture species that we get over here. This is by far the most common, although it is still critically endangered. So it's the most common vulture that we get here, but it is still critically endangered. They are much maligned, the vulture, a little bit like their friends, the hyenas. I'm not sure that they're really friends, but you know what I mean. Much maligned, much abused, and much set upon by human beings. And they are really fascinating creatures.
On the Calabar Rock,
Well, we'll just have a little squiz around here and see if anything has in fact died. But I don't think so, because somebody's already driven this road today.
Okay, copy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a welcome, slightly delayed welcome to and beyond Ngala. We had rain for the majority of the day, but we have got some beautiful clear skies, and these monkeys seem to be enjoying the sunlight, and they've just been on the ground, but the majority of the troop now has moved all the way up to the tree. Sorry, Owen. So my name is Eric, and behind camera is Owen, and like I say, we are here very close to the river. It's on the other side of, to the right of me where I'm pointing. And what distracted me for a short while were those impalas in the distance on the opposite bank. And what those impalas were doing, it looked like they were running away from something, and they were doing a thing called strutting. So they were jumping up and down and kicking with their back legs. And they often do that when they're running away from a predator, but by the looks of it, they're more playing with one another. There we go. See, a small one just crossed the gap. So they were running around in circles like that. And I thought if we might be lucky, it could have been a predator, but it's not.
Look at what we've come across. Zebra highway. See them, they utilize the road sometimes when they're walking or moving from one place to another, because it's easy for them to see predators coming around, and also much easier way to walk than going through the brushes and the grasses. Now, I think that this came in fast and then followed by the wildebeest, because farther away from, just beyond those trees, just to the end of the road, there's lots of wildebeest there. And sometimes these zebras, they utilize what the wildebeest have eaten, because they all have browsing or levels of the grass that they end up eating. You find that the wildebeest will eat the very tall grass, and then what is left over eaten by the zebra, and then the toppies, and then the Thompson gazelle, because what we see here is already been utilized by all these two species. So zebras will prefer the very short grass, while the wildebeest will prefer the long, tall grass. So it's an advantage of when they walk in two different groups, where we have zebras and wildebeest. See them switching off their flies, their tails, to deter away flies. There's lots of flies that come with them. And sometimes we've seen lots of birds who take advantage of this, especially the guinea fowls, who play a very good ecological role when they're foraging on the ground. They eat flies, ticks, because these animals here come with lots of ticks. And sometimes you can see them rubbing on the trees to get rid of the ticks. And you see oxpeckers as well do a very good job when they clean up and take off the ticks. So you find that nature has a way of controlling. Nature has a way of its balance. Before this area became a conservation area, it was once a settlement area where we had Maasai people who inhabited this area. As the name suggests, Maasai Mara. So rinderpest struck, and so people moved out of this area because the Maasai keep cattle. So some of these animals are resistant, but most of them died during those days because of rinderpest. Actually, more than 800,000 were decimated because of rinderpest. So the authority had to push people out so that they can maintain and put a balance to see the spread of rinderpest was brought down. So after that, animals are happily grazing, and we saw a big rise of wildebeest. So these zebras are enjoying this super grass as we take over to another safari vehicle.
Look at this precious girl. She's sleeping very soundly, mostly soundly, except for the occasional crested francolin that's taking its chance by walking straight past her, getting her interest every now and then. But she's more content to just rest. Yes, she's been moving quite a bit. This morning when James had her, she was moving all over the place. It's time to rest. Our precious Lalamba will be 3 years old very soon. She's just a beautiful leopard. Now that everything's becoming greener, it's almost happened over the last few days. The picture of a leopard with that beautiful rosetted coat in the green is just spectacular. It's something so almost too good for your eyes, if that makes sense. It's just so much beauty to take in. Keeping nice and warm, all rolled up in a ball, sitting on her paws. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's just so few things that are as beautiful as a leopard, and so few words to describe it. Like the lioness up in Namara, like Fernando that we just saw. If you were driving by here, you would never notice it unless you were looking at exactly the right place at the right time. Sometimes we get all these clues, alarm calls, birds shouting, leopards sawing, and sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes she's just resting and you would never know that she's there. It's really starting, especially after the sun came out earlier, it's really starting to be that tropical kind of weather. Hi, Kaylin. You're 11 years old. It's so great of you to ask us a question. You'd like to know why do leopards soar? They soar as a way to communicate and a way for them to let other leopards know where their territory is. So if another leopard can hear the soar of a different leopard, then they know that they are close to a territory line, close to a boundary. Kind of like if you shout in your house and other people can hear you shouting, then maybe they're too close. So they use that to communicate. They can communicate that it's their territory. They can communicate that they're in estrus. That means that they're ready to mate. And that's just the things we know. They could be communicating other stuff too. So happy to see her. Southern blacktip there. Can see her. She's shouting. I'm sorry if my voice is a bit low. We have other vehicles in the sighting. And we're all quite close because she's in an awkward place, quite close to the drainage. Oh, Victoria, that's a really nice question. You'd like to know what features we use to identify Tlalamba. First off, she's easy to see from the face. I know that's a horrible explanation because you have to get really used to the face of a leopard before you can ID them properly. But if we're looking just strictly at patterns, we'll look for above her whisker line. Can you see right there by her nose? You get above the straight line of spots. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on that side above the whisker line, and that's because she's a 5'5" female. So she's got 5 above the whisker lines on the left and 5 on the right. So that's the first thing you'd look for if you have no idea who it is. And then you think, okay, she's 5'5". I know that Tlalamba is a 5'5". Then you'd start to look for other things. Now, she's also got a bit of a scratch on her nose that you can't see. Now, that's also making her quite identifiable. But apart from that, she's got the face of her family, if that makes sense. Her lineage. She looks, I think, quite similar to Kuchava in certain expressions. She can sometimes look quite similar to Hosanna. And then when you see leopards who are not from that family, you'll see the difference in the face. Like Sibuyi, for example. She's got a different type of face. And then the more time you spend with a leopard, the more easily recognizable they become. There's another thing that I see with Tlalamba, and it's kind of the angle of the spots near her forehead and her eyes. They create quite a geometric shape that lets me know it's her straight away. That I think it's something that she kind of shares with Kuchava too. Oh, stretch it out. It's a beautiful girl, and we're going to stick around with her for as long as we can.
We've looped down into the river, so we're almost directly opposite where we saw those velvet monkeys, and we've got this beautiful scene unfolding in front of us. This whole troop of baboons has come down into the river, and a herd of impalas literally moving right in between them. And this is the same herd that we saw briefly prancing around, running in circles after one another. And there's a really small baboon that we spotted, and it's not just one, there's a couple of them. And they all seem to be using that fallen over log as a playground. And so they're jumping, chasing each other around. And it's quite comical. So they seem to really be enjoying this afternoon light. And right next to them is one of the biggest baboons within this troop. And just look at that face, he is huge. And he's one of the adult males, and he's positioned himself into a spot where he can see straight down the riverbed, and he's also enjoying this afternoon light after almost 3 days of non-stop rain. And it's so interesting to see how this herd of impala is happy to move straight through this troop of baboons. And they're pretty confident that if that big male baboon happened to spot something he didn't like, he would give them an alarm call. And those impalas know exactly what that alarm call means, and it's just a way of having extra eyes and ears out here in the bush. It's so interesting because, I mean, only within the next few weeks we're expecting the first impala lambs to be shown. And they will obviously give birth in great numbers, and that's pretty much the only time of year that you might find baboons potentially hunting. And they'll take advantage of a young lamb that might be isolated, and they'll happily kill it and eat meat. Something happened there? There. Oh, it looked like it. Just listen to it. It looked like what might have happened is a teenager got too close to the very small one. Noises are insane. So it looks like the very smallest one that we saw, the mother ran in to grab it, and now she's dropped down into the riverbed. So further to the right if you go upstream, and he's just over there, and it looks like one of the big males is coming to check. So I think what might have happened there is just one of the teenagers got a bit too rough with the very small one, and that same male that we had been watching the whole time just basically went in and disciplined him. So all of that screeching to begin with was just one teenager, and then one of the other big males in the troop actually came from the riverbed and ran in to try and help his coalition partner and discipline this youngster. And so it seems like everything has calmed down. It was just a quick little discipline, and it seems like they'll resume their afternoon activities, playing and grooming one another.
When it comes to baboons and them having a tussle, it is a very vicious and vocal affair. We're just sitting here nice and quietly watching the sandgrass feed on seeds. This behavior is normally done early morning, late afternoon. And this is a female namakwa sandgrass. When it comes to the males, they are very easily identified from their defined colors and markings. But with the females, it is a bit tricky, and you really need to look at sandgrass in order to ID the females correctly. But that pattern is just unbelievable. Look how slowly she moves. She's moving slowly so that if something is watching her, she looks like a little stone almost, or something puts an eye on her. But slow movements, and she's just looking very carefully for all these tiny little seeds that she'll be picking up. So midday they would find a shady spot and rest, and then this period they would eat and then make their way to water. Double-banded is a species that likes to visit water in the late evenings, almost just on dusk. And it's such an amazing experience to sit at a watering hole and these birds come in, and the noise they make, it's electrifying. And you could have a couple of hundred at a watering hole at any given point in early evening periods. Slow movements, look how short, or look how small the movements are between her 2 feet, and remaining super vigilant. So the male should be here somewhere, normally seen in pairs or small family groups if there are offspring that are associating themselves with the parents. And then sometimes you have little congregations of a few. You drive past them and they're sitting so still you don't even notice them, and suddenly 5 or 6 birds just take up from right next to the vehicle and they take off. Really remarkable birds. still fascinated by them. We're going to visit one of the western watering holes in the next couple of days, and then we'll really show you the behavior at which is displayed by these birds, how they're able to hold water within their feathers. We saw it a couple of days ago. It was nice, but we want to make it a bit better.
Sungrosses are very interesting birds. Now, elephants are also interesting creatures. Now, we've come across this elephant here with a half trunk. Look at the trunk there. It's so short. You can see the pink pale end of the trunk. It seems like he might have walked over into farmland or maybe out of the conservation area and maybe caught up in a snare. But the good thing is it healed off naturally. It seems like it's not bothering him at all. So this elephant is fit and looks like he's happy. Although the trunk is too short to perform the task, but he has already utilized or known how to use that trunk. Roxanne, thank you for your question. An elephant can eat up to about 250 kilos or 500 pounds in a day. That is so much of food to eat. Now back to a half-trunk elephant. She is still using that trunk. So sometimes elephants go through a very tough life, especially when they walk into farmlands. So the reason why we have rangers and we have this conservation management parks that are within our ecosystem is helping conserve and protect these species. Of course, you know, elephants are among one of the endangered and vulnerable species because of the ivory. But you see, these elephants are peaceful. In other place, in the old days when elephants were so much disturbed, we'd hardly stop to watch elephants grazing or feeding like this. So it's very, very nice when you come across elephants and see them peacefully grazing, even though that one is missing some part of the trunk, but you can see they are peaceful. So it healed on very, very naturally, and they're happy to carry on with their daily life. So we'll carry on, find something else, because our elephants have gone to a different area. I can see elephants way over in the distance, so we have lots of herds that have come to graze here in the savannah right now that the wildebeest have gone away. So you find when there's lots of wildebeest around, elephants seem to disperse and walk to a different area. This is super beautiful. Let's just get closer to those other elephants and see what they're doing.
We have got a Swainson spurfowl here, sitting on the top of a tree. And what's quite fun about it is that he's making his territorial call, but he's also making that whistling contact call that people don't normally associate with francolins. And I could be a she. And it's normally the youngsters that do it. And it took me a long time to figure out what was making this call. And I'm just hoping that it'll do it again. And go. Go. Immediately. There. See? See? He's also doing a bit of yoga. Stretching. It's a very plaintive whistle. Have you lost your friends? There's another one calling in the background. I suspect this one will now answer. Let's see. No, just looking that way. Bridget, yeah, I think they can feel quite a lot in their beaks. I think it depends on the bird. I don't know if their nerves actually extend to the end of the beak. I wouldn't think so because it's keratin. But they've got bones that goes, it's bone covered in keratin. And the bone will definitely have be innervated. But I suspect it varies in sensitivity. So something like a heron, or a spoonbill, even more so, which moves its beak through the water the whole time, trying to feel for stuff, and will snap it shut as soon as something edible goes past it. I think they're probably a lot more sensitive than, say, than the beak of, say, a woodpecker, which is constantly being slammed into hard wood. But yes, they are innervated. The keratin replaces all the time, though, remember. Hello, Spas. They've got red faces because that's just what they look like. And, I would say it was to attract mates, but it isn't to attract mates because both male and female have them, in the same way as my old example of the lilac-breasted roller, both male and female have those. So it's difficult to say what biological purpose the colour red on their faces serves. But it's a good question. Tracy, feathers are made of various different chemical compounds. I'm not sure entirely what they are. It's a little bit like hair, so they'll be, largely carbon, I suppose. But I don't know what the chemical makeup of feathers is. Actually, I suppose it's probably a bit of keratin. I know the colour comes from layers of melanin crystals, and there's a little bit of pigment in there. If they're blue, you'll get a bit of pigment. If they're yellow, you'll get a bit of pigment too. Otherwise, there are a whole lot of air pockets between. This is all on the surface layers to reflect different light or create the illusion of different colours through iridescence. Does that answer the question? Otherwise, they're made of, there's probably quite a lot of keratin in the structure. Such a plaintive, sad whistle, isn't it? Right, we'll continue as the night starts to fall.
This girl has decided to turn around. I'm not sure it was her face, but she did so fast, so maybe if we sit here long enough, we will hear her again. It's something very impressive to be so close to an animal when it roars or soars, or even an elephant trumpeting, anything like that, and you're so close you can feel it. She's now looking off into the drainage. It's a great spot to actually watch from if you're a leopard. You're nice and covered, but you can also see any stray antelopes that are hanging out in the drainage, which they would, because at this time that's the place that's going to first be sprouting that fresh growth. And you often see antelope in drainages feeding, so it's a good spot. Giving us a cold shoulder. She's got fabulous shoulders, much like her father. It's also very muscular and well built. She looks so peaceful. Really, you'd like to know how good is a leopard's sense of smell? Pretty good. Often with animals out here, there's one sense that tends to dominate. Like with elephants, their eyesight isn't great, but their hearing and their sense of smell is. Hippos as well, eyesight not great, sense of hearing very good, sense of smell also good, but hearing really good. Rhinos, same deal, very bad eyesight. But I found that with cats, it seems to be pretty even. Their eyesight is exceptional. They have really wide pupils. Their pupils can dilate many times more than ours can, so that allows more light in. They also have the tapetum lucidum, which is that iridescent layer behind the eye that helps to reflect the light back into the eye so that it gets a second chance of being absorbed and extra information to the brain before it creates the image. I would say that's their top sense, but their sense of hearing is also very good. They've got ears that they can move, lots of fine hairs to assist and amplify sound, and they've got a large nose. Hyena's nose is larger and the nostrils are larger, but still the nose of a cat is exceptionally, or for the face, it is large, and the nostrils are also really nice and large. And that would indicate that it's got a good sense of smell. And we also know that leopards can hoist kills up into a tree, and other leopards can follow that scent. So they must be able to smell over quite a distance. Not over kilometers, but over a couple hundred meters definitely. Apart from that, they'll sniff out the trail because they have lots of scent glands. They scent mark, and the fact that they scent mark and that there's a lot of information in their urine when they scent mark tells you that there must be can't just exist without there being sufficient reception of it. So they must have a good sense of smell to produce communication that relies on that smell. Wasn't that amazing? Such a deep voice you have, Lalaba. That was awesome. I'm so glad that we got that to show it to you. There's also this really nice echo that comes from being in a slight dip of the drainage. Oh, that was just epic. Hopefully, she'll do it again for us soon.
Fantastic, welcome back. Beautiful scene that is playing out here at Tswalu Kalahari with that greyish skyline and the front part, those mountains set in front of it, is absolutely magnificent. We are going to be making our way back up to the pan to see what we can find over there. Maybe we can scrub something. I also made a little bit of a boo-boo. That was actually a Birchall sandgrass. I mentioned that it was an Namakwa sandgrass. And Birchall's, you see what I mean? Double-banded sandgrass. The streaks on the chest is a dead giveaway in comparison to the other females of here. So the sandgrass we were looking at a couple of minutes ago was a double-banded, not an Namakwa. But double-banded we have over here. We have Namakwa, and then we have the beautiful Birchall's sandgrass. 3 out of the 4 wonderful species of sandgrass. So from here we're going to go up to the pan, and hopefully we can get lucky with something sneaking in there for a late afternoon drink. Let's go. Seems like you guys have been having a fantastic afternoon. See, Trish has found that beautiful leopard. It's always really nice when things work out like that. Sometimes it can be hard work and it doesn't pay off, and sometimes it all just comes together. So we're going to go slightly east, and then we're going to scoot up north, and the pan is about 3 kilometers on our northern side here. Surfing through the nice sandy roads also makes it for a softer drive. I would like to say it's my driving that makes for a great drive, but I think it's the roads. Like I said before, any questions or comments, let us know. #WildEarth. Great, so we're going to see now what we can pick up from this side.
Well, I left the River Lioness, and look who I came across. This is Bob Marley, aka Split Nose, and he is curious about something. He's aiming at something. I don't know what he sees, but he's on a mission. He looks in very good shape, hasn't eaten for a few days, but looks in very good shape. You can see the actual split nose, and he's on an evening stroll. Maybe he has spotted one of the females. Maybe, he wants to see what they're up to, but he's quite a long way from where we are. We cannot tell exactly where he's heading, but I'm hoping to catch up with him in a bit and see what he's up to. That is the kind of setting that we are in. Beautiful wooded savanna. Remember, he is one of the males who was mating with Remember, he was one of the males who was mating with the Olololo girls, and then he got badly beaten by the female with the collar. He left. Nobody has seen him since, but now I've seen him here in the marsh, and he's headed somewhere. I don't know exactly what he's up to, but I don't know if he's gonna find the river lionesses, and I don't know what he's gonna do with them. And behind me over here, surprisingly, I have a black rhino that I would like to share with you. So it's a price of 2 in one packing. So shortly he's gonna come into view. There's a black rhino over there, Tungay. Yes, he's over there and he's looking at us. So I'm very, very, very lucky to be in this position. And he just came out. This is, and you can tell he is keenly listening at us. They don't like any artificial noise, like the vehicle. They usually run away, and they have poor eyesight. So they depend on their radar-like ears to locate, any danger. And that's what he's doing right now. Look at the ears, how they're pointed towards us. They usually hide really well in thickets. I don't blame them because they feed on brush. So they rarely come out in the open during the day, only coming out at night and evening to browse on the leaves. This is the most endangered, the most rare black rhino. We have a handful of them, and I'm very grateful to see this one. Remember to talk to us, #WildEarth. Questions and comments are very, very welcome. I cannot identify these guys. I don't know about them, but we do have a handful of them. And this is one of the areas we normally see them. If you look closer, if he moves, you will see that it's got a very finger-like lip, and that is used for picking leaves or browsing, we call it. He is sort of relaxing, so he's not very worried about me, and I'm hoping that he's gonna move slightly so we can see him better. Yeah, look at the ears, how they move from right to left. Surprisingly, these animals appeared, out of the blue. Many years ago, they disappeared here in the 80s, and then it took quite a long time before they started appearing. And thanks to the Conservancy, because of security they provided, these animals came back, and they've been giving birth here in the Conservancy. The number is starting to go up. Yeah, he's very relaxed now, you can tell. Usually, if they're not happy, they will take off in an instant without any warning, and they're very hard to come close to because they will hear you and run away, and also very dangerous. You don't want to be really close to them. One main reason their numbers has diminished is the demand for their horns, and the other one is that when they give birth, they're usually solitary, and so hyenas or lions can outmaneuver a mother with a young one and take it. Also, they need perfect conditions to breed. If there are too many in an area, then they will fight each other, and the females never come into season. So they need huge areas with lots of browse and water to be able to breed. Right now, I am sure he's listening to me, and I don't know what the decision he's gonna make. This is a very rare find indeed, and I'm happy to have come across him. Yeah, what are you thinking, Mr. Rhino? Yeah, he's very relaxed now. Are you gonna move on? Yeah, I'm gonna stay here a little bit longer, see if he's gonna come closer. If not, I'm gonna move on and follow Bob Marley. But let's see what else we can show you.
I miss those rhinos. There's something extremely pleasurable about watching them browse their way across those big clearings, almost hidden sometimes by all the grass. Here we don't have a black rhino. Well, I mean, potentially we have black rhino, but not currently. That is not a black rhino you're looking at. That is the hind end, the best hind end in the bush. It is that belonging to the zebra. Same zebra that you get up in the Masai Mara, slightly different subspecies, apparently. But for all intents and purposes, the same thing. Lovely calls of the Franklins.
Stations, I'm not following Solamba through the drainage, but she's heading east from the stop. She's taking on the road south.
Sorry, animal lover, what was that? Have I ever seen an animal give birth? It sounds like a slightly loaded question. Yes, animal lover, it's almost certainly a loaded question. Yes, I have seen a zebra give birth. I suspect that you're aware of that. If you aren't, I apologize. I saw a zebra giving birth once, and I became so excited that, well, I think that the presentation of the zebra giving birth left quite a lot to be desired on my part. The actual zebra did an extremely good job of giving birth, and the foal was, well, up soon after birth, as they normally are. And I'm not sure if we ever saw it again. We may have, we may not have. There were lions around at the time. I can hear that male lion that we didn't see but almost found calling. Well, he called once, way off towards the southeast. Just beautiful sounds the whole day today. Cicadas have started. The birds are deafening now. And a lion coming in on the southeast breeze. Just beautiful. One also shouldn't forget that the incredible chorus created by BK's intestines is always a welcome accompaniment to any game drive. The last song went something like this. Have you had your bar?
Well, between Bob Marley and these black rhino, I have decided to stay with this black rhino. Reason is it is one of the most rare animals you'll ever encounter in Africa or in the world. At the moment, I think we have less than 5,000. And so to see one, it's a jackpot to me. These animals can weigh up to around 1,500. Historically, that was the weight, when they really could get big. But right now they can weigh up to a ton, which is 1,000 kilos. And they have a gestation period of 14 to 16 months. Makes it very difficult for them to make a comeback when they are only a handful. And with all the devastation they're facing from habitat loss, poaching and also competition by being killed by, predators. Their numbers have almost dwindled to the last thousands that we have. I'm so happy that he's staying still and not going anywhere. And I'm hoping that he's going to stay a little bit longer so we can see what he's going to do. Well, this is called the hooked-lipped or the black rhino. It is not black in any way, but for certain reason, the white rhino was changed to, from wide-mouthed rhino to white rhino, I think by some people in Southern Africa. And so this was named the black rhino, and it's a native to East Africa all the way to Southern Africa. The main place you can see them at the moment is here in the Masai Mara, Tsavo, and some protected places in Southern Africa. Very few are left, believe me. And they're very sensitive to any noise. So I have a vehicle that's approaching, and I'm waiting to see the reaction that he's going to have. Their eye is so small compared to the size of their head, and so they don't see really well. They use their smell and hearing to detect anything. The notching on the ear is an identification mark where the rangers usually can identify them and tell who it is. This one, I'm guessing he's a male. I still have to prove that when he turns around. It's very difficult sometimes when you're looking, from the face. It is a super beautiful setting here. I have a backdrop of the Mara riverine forest and lush grass in front. The weather is beautiful. I don't know if you can hear the cocky francolins singing. Well, this animal needs a very large, huge area. Shami Ann, thank you for your question. Does the clipping affect their hearing? I would say no, because even without human, interfering with the ear, they do get tattered throughout the ears by going through brush and also by tick biting the ears, and so it doesn't affect them at all. Well, it is a female, I can see that, and looks like she was lying somewhere. That's why she's got some black mud on her rear quarters. Yeah, beautiful side profile. I'm sure she can hear me. And I don't know what's going on in her mind. I'm hoping she's gonna start walking again, but she's very comfortable, not worried about me. Ian, I would say it could be better in the day because there's a bit of light they can see. At night they use their smell and hearing to detect where they're going, and always putting their heads down, touching the ground every now and then. They have to eat, they raise it up, and then they have to put it down to see or to use it to locate or to put a footing in the right place. Looks like we're having a standoff. I'm quite a long way, but she's still thinking if to continue coming out into the plains or to go back into the bushes. I must say I'm about 300 feet, which is a good distance. Otherwise, she would have already come for me. They don't waste their time, in attacking. They will come for you if you break that safety distance. Well, are you going to turn around again for us? She will definitely, because she needs to listen. Yeah, I'm going to see what she's going to do for another maybe 3 minutes. And while I do that, let's see what's happening in another live location.
From the black rhino on the other side of the Mara, we have 3 lionesses here, and they look like they are up on a mission, but still resting because we have lots of zebras and wildebeest coming their way. So in time before it gets dark, they locate prey and move closely so that they can make hunt. So they're more successful maybe at night than during the day. We've seen lots of lion missing prey during the day, and also sometime at night they can miss, but being 3 of them right here, there's a high possibility that they may find something to eat. They look a little bit skinny or maybe hungry. One of the lioness has a scar or a wound on her left shoulder. I don't know what happened. Could be maybe she had tried maybe to get or catch a buffalo and got an injury, or maybe a wildebeest. Sometimes those wildebeest that we see walking around can injure lions. As you know, they have what we call the swarming way of pushing off predators from their sight. She's trying to clean up herself. Typically, lions will do the cleaning in the evening mostly, and after they've eaten. But this is not a sign that they've already eaten, but it's a thing they do almost each and every evening. Look at how they're grooming. Wow, that's nice. Little hug there. That enhances the bond when lions do that facial grooming there. That's a sign of excitement when they roll over. Lily, thank you for your question. Not often successful. Lions can be. Out of 5 attempts, 1 is successful. So they are not as successful like wild dogs or hyena. So out of 5 attempts, 1 can be successful. Now they're back on their mission, and we have zebras calling. So they're up to something right now. We're going to follow them keenly to see, because we have zebras and wildebeest just way over. And they look like they're heading that direction. Seems like he's located prey. So once they choose their target, they'll just walk slowly towards their target. Good thing they're downwind, so those animals cannot get their scent, which is a good advantage to them. Sometimes if wind changes direction, then they fall into a disadvantage. So they're very, very intelligent, such that when they're walking around hunting and the wind changes direction, they use those. Oh, seems like they spotted something. And the zebra is not far from here. Actually, you see they're using the trench. Okay, that one has located the prey. So the zebra is unaware that these lions are here. See how they're utilizing that trench? Look at how they coordinate. So interesting. So they have to move on and circle the prey, while one of them will actually flush their prey to their side. See, the zebra is unaware that lions are there, and they're actually heading in their direction. But because zebras are so intelligent and they have a good sight, when they're walking, they have to look and scan around for predators. So definitely they've not seen the lions. So these lions will just wait carefully and time until these zebras come to a very good distance. So look at how they've stopped and staring. So they have to wait until it's a safe or reliable distance so that they can strike. Normally lions will wait until prey is within 20 meters so that they can sprint in full burst. Seems like that stallion has sensed something but not quite sure whether it's a lion or maybe a rock. Because actually they are walking towards the sunset, so they can only see the sun glare as it's sinking down the horizon. So the lions are now on an vantage point. See what's happening now, is following now while stopping to look. The Hadada ibis have seen the lions. That's an alarm call from the Hadada ibis. But good thing they've moved past. Totally unaware, because if they are really seeing the lions, they will be running away. But I'm sure one of them has sensed or maybe seen some movement on the ground ahead of him. So they have to be sure before they carry on. So this lion, they're taking that advantage of that road trench there to watch as the zebras advance toward them. So that lion is actually walking towards these lions now. Seems like she was trying to see what she's doing. She might want to go around them so that she can flash the zebras to come to this lioness's way. Look how intelligent they're coordinating that hunt there. Super intelligent. You wonder how is the communication while they do this kind of coordination. So when lions are coordinating like this, you wonder what is the communication that's going on. They actually use their senses and sight. And of course, when one moves, the other just picks in automatically and follows, because this is natural. From when they were cubs, they learned by watching how their mothers were coordinating a hunt. So they pick in, and through experience, they develop that in nature. Still, the zebras are unaware of the lion's presence. So this lion will walk towards us because we are actually downwind. An advantage to this lioness. And of course, go past and try to flash the zebra to come to this lionesses waiting on the road. So let me just move a little bit forward so that we can see what's happening over here. So she's close at distance. As you can see, she's quite close to the zebra. Okay, she's running now. Oh, she's running, she's still on the move. Don't know if she's still on the move. Yes, she's still on the move. You can see the zebras are running towards these other waiting lions. But that's a failed attempt. So someone asked if lions are efficient. So out of 5 attempts, 1 might be successful. So we don't know how many times they've tried to hunt and failed. She's still on the move, and I think the other zebras are still unaware of her presence. She might use the grass cover. So let's wait and see what will happen next.
It's always very exciting watching a lion hunt, especially when it all works out for the lions and for us. We snuck into the little watering hole, nothing much happening there. So myself and Glenn decided to park the vehicle at a nice spot, like this nice open area, and just enjoy that setting sun. And also just to sit here and feel, because we've got quite a lot of wind movement at the moment. These big clouds coming in from the western sections of Tswalu, and it's always amazing to just sit and feel all these elements around us. I mean, we are minute in terms of the scope of what's going on here. It's unreal. And just to feel the wind move, watch the clouds move, appreciate the sun. I mean, it's been there all day for us. I mean, what a marvelous day we've had. So it is times like it where you don't have anything, we just have to sit back and enjoy, you know. It's nice to watch animals, but then also nice just to appreciate, you know, these finer things that we just kind of, in our fast-paced lives, just forget about, and we just go past it. Watching the sun set and sunrise is a very important thing for human beings. Watching that sun, the rays, the light that enters you, almost like charges me up every morning. It's a wonderful thing. But we might get a bit of rain. Glenn told me that he's looked on the weather app and it looks like we might get a little drizzle throughout the night. I'm really hoping, because with a little bit of water, this place can really bust out another coat, a totally different dress code, let's say it that. And from the small little flowers to the trees, the shrubs, and what I'm waiting for is the insects as well. That's the big thing that I'm waiting for from the raids. But absolutely spectacular. And if you watch it, it's moving so fast. Just shows you that human beings, we're in a different format. We're in a very fast lane in comparison to how this planet is moving. And it's something that we need to realign ourselves with. You know, slow down and appreciate, make our kids appreciate. These things are important. Wind is whipping and whirling around us over here. It's coming in from the south. It's changed direction. It was from the north earlier. So hopefully all the stuff that's moved over us hopefully gets pushed back into Tswalu, and the land can be revived again.
So from the foiled attempt, these lions will still go and find something else. This is the lions that are talking about that had an injury on her left shoulder. So it seems like she wants to carry on, but it's getting a little bit dark, so we can't really see if the zebras are close or not. So the second lion is joining, following the leader. But I hope they'll be successful tonight. Change position a little bit. back on their mission. I'm sure because they've missed out now, they have to carry on and see if they could be successful again. They seem quite determined because after she failed, she kept on carrying on. Look at this scar or the wound on her left shoulder. That means that she might have tried to handle it earlier, but failed again. So they're now back on the road. Look at how they walk in a single file. So the third one has joined. And they walk in a single file, stopping to scan. Any slight movement that they detect, they'll be keen to watch. As you follow these lines, let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
I have been looking for a last-minute chameleon, but instead I found some crowned lapwings. Squawking away. There's an impala in the background there too. Still a bit of light to see them. There they go. I think they might be my favorite type of lapwing. Very nice. Well, speaking of light and dark and all of those things, we are changing the AM safari time tomorrow, from tomorrow morning. So for sunrise safari, we are going to be starting half an hour earlier. That means we will start at 5:30 Central African time. So that time change is happening from tomorrow morning. It will go from 5:30 to 9:30. Hopefully that means being out a little bit earlier will help us to track predators. That's a time when they're nice and active. So I think exciting things for the morning. Maybe even some chameleons. Who knows? Possibilities are endless. We'll be able to hear the frogs. Oh, the frogs have been going crazy in the evenings. Can you hear that? That is the hum of the wet season upon us. Isn't it lovely? This and the sound of the scops owls, pearl-spotted owlets, the fiery-necked nightjars, it's all coming alive. Even the crickets, can you hear them? Well, I hope tomorrow morning, when we're out nice and early, remember 5:30 Central African time, we'll hear all of these sounds, plus the sounds of some predators soaring, roaring, whooping. Who knows? Didn't get a chance to visit the hyena den today, so tomorrow morning we shall do that. Anyway, it's that time, guys. Thank you for everything, spending this time with us, for your questions and for your comments. You know that we always enjoy the time with you and the animals. I hope that you do too. We'll see you in the morning for Sunrise Safari at 5:30 a.m. Central African time.